Problem segment tonight. Every press survey ever taken shows most American journalists are pro-choice, as we mentioned. So the logical question is the media treating the Fox-Limbaugh controversy in a fair and balanced way? Our analysis of the 3 nightly newscasts says, yes, the reports basically were fair. But on Good Morning America, when Sean Hannity was interviewed by Diane Sawyer, there was a little more edge.
Rush Limbaugh, even in his apology, said that Mike Fox was allowing his illness to be exploited, shilling for a Democratic candidate. If you have Parkinson's disease and you believe embryonic stem cell research is the answer, a possible cure, don't you have a right to speak up?
You have a right to speak up, but he also has a right to be criticized. He's a guy that is very political. He wants the defeat of these candidates. You know, there is some little hypocrisy here.
All right, joining us now from Miami, former CBS News correspondent Bernie Goldberg, and from Washington, former LA Times reporter Jane Hall, both are Fox News analysts. Jane, begin with you. You know, it was clear, and we're going to show another clip from Diane Sawyer, that Ms. Sawyer sympathizes in this situation with Mr. Fox. What isn't clear is if she just sympathizes because he, you know, is in a bad way, or is she sympathizing on an ideological basis? What say you?
I have no way of knowing what her state of mind was. I mean, from what you played, she asked Sean a question, he responded. I mean, I think it's very interesting to get off the substance of what Rush Limbaugh did, which was to attack a guy and attack his integrity, say he was faking it, not apologize. He did not apologize, and a lot of media people are reporting that he did. So I think she's right to throw the question out there. It's a tough question, and he answers.
Today, and they, I guess on a radio program today, he did apologize for saying that that Fox faked it or whatever. And look,
But he said, if I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I think he's being exploited.
Today he went a little further than that. How do you see it, Bernie?
I think there's an important media question here, and it has very little to do with Rush Limbaugh. Instead of focusing on Rush Limbaugh, which the media loves to do, it should be focusing on a very important question. Is the commercial that Michael J. Fox, the one he cut, and he has every right to do a commercial, let's get that straight, is it honest? Is it dishonest? Is it misleading? But instead of asking those questions, the reason the media won't is because Michael J. Fox is a sympathetic victim. And when you have a sympathetic victim, whether it's Michael J. Fox or a less sympathetic victim like Cindy Sheehan, who lost her son in Iraq, or the Jersey girls who campaigned for John Kerry's run for the White House, but they lost their husbands on 9/11. Bringing out victims doesn't encourage debate, it stifles debate, and that's my problem with it.
Well, if you're going to...
So, go ahead, Jane.
Well, I think if you're, Rush Limbaugh, I'm sure that Karl Rove is not happy, that this is what has become the issue. I agree with you. We should be debating the substance. But the Republicans are running commercials with Osama bin Laden saying, vote for us, the stakes are so high, don't vote for the other side. I mean, this is a very ugly campaign. We should be debating the substance. I noted several stories, went to the Talents campaign and got a response from him. And I think that's all you can do is try to get both sides when you're focusing on the controversy over one of these ads.
Okay, but, a person like Diane Sawyer is very powerful and shapes opinion. And, if she says to Sean Hannity or anybody else, hey, I mean, this is ridiculous, you can't be doing this kind of stuff, then Americans lose sight of what the complicated, and boy, is it ever complicated. They lose sight of that, and they go, well, here are the bully boy Republicans, and the Dallas Morning News use that word bully. Again, they use it to me all the time. I'm not even a Republican. And it's the bully boy Republicans. Here they come, beating the hell out of victims. And, Bernie, that just raises all these flags.
Right. Because journalists love to show their compassion. And before my good friend Jane Hall could say that there's no liberal bias, let me ask a question. If Rush Limbaugh had cut a commercial, and he cut a commercial saying, I'm deaf, I can't hear, and maybe in the back of him somebody dropped a big boulder and he didn't even hear it. And he said, I think we need more federal funds to research deaf problems, and maybe we should take it away from welfare or maybe AIDS or something. Do you think the same media would show Rush Limbaugh the compassion that they're showing Michael J. Fox? The answer is obviously no, and there's a reason for it, because Rush Limbaugh is conservative, and liberalism affects everything they do.
You're going to run out of time here.
I got to stop you guys now, and we'll bring it back. We'll have more with Jane and Bernie in a moment.
Rush Limbaugh, your friend.
My friend, absolutely.
Rush Limbaugh, what is going on here? Attacking Michael J. Fox?
All right, you see? Continuing now with Fox News analyst Bernie Goldberg in Miami, author of the paperback book 110 People Are Screwing Up America, and Jane Hall in Washington, D.C. You said, look, I know Diane Sawyer, and I know that she's not an ideologue, but she's certainly a liberal person. And then, you know, she shows the indignation. And Jane, this has an effect. It has an effect, particularly on women. And they just
Absolutely.
say,
well, then wait a minute.
Limbaugh and Hannity and O'Reilly and Goldberg and these
Wait, can I respond to
barbarians. How dare they? How dare they?
You know, I think that Rush Limbaugh, at the time that he was having problems, I remember reading that he said that a Newsweek piece and some other pieces were very fair to him, were very compassionate. I mean, he benefited from compassion. I agree with you, the media like to show compassion. But I think that this is classic bullying behavior, and Rush Limbaugh needs to be held accountable for it. And if somebody else did it, I mean, I believe Michael J. Fox made a commercial in 2004 for Arlen Specter. He was not in the shape that he apparently was in for this commercial, but we've yet to really get to a real accounting of saying, you know what, maybe I screwed up. Now Rush Limbaugh is blaming the media, from what I read, and I didn't see today.
Nah, look,
He's saying he's a victim.
Nah.
He is.
He's saying, look, I don't, look, he does a long, complicated show, but the bottom line on this thing is you have Michael J. Fox, and Larua Ingharam just put it very well, Jane, that Michael J. Fox in his ad obviously wants these Democrats elected, obviously feels that the Democratic Party is going to be much, much friendlier to stem cell than the Republicans, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But he doesn't mention the cloning angle, and he doesn't mention a lot of things.
Well, then I actually agree with you on that point.
When you get into that area where you don't mention a lot of things, like Hillary Clinton did this thing on parental notification and didn't mention that there was an abuse clause in the bill. She just didn't mention it. Now, when you get into those waters, then you become, you know, a valid person to be criticized, do you not?
I actually agree with you. We should have more ad watches. He should be held to account. Michael J. Fox should be held to account on what's actually in the bill. If what Laura described is true, that should be reported. We shouldn't be fighting over who said what about whom.
But it's
as
never
much as the
going
issue.
to be reported.
But you hand people a big fat pitch like you attack a man who has this disease. It's going to get talked about. I don't
Did you think it was an attack,
for that.
Bernie? Did you think it was an attack?
No. Let me tell you my bias. I love Rush Limbaugh. He made one mistake that I wish he hadn't. He did that spastic dance. If he didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking about Rush Limbaugh, and neither would Diane Sawyer. And that's the point.
He said it was shameless and it was an act. That's what he said.
He's a victim. Because he's a victim, and a sympathetic victim. Nobody wants to see a young man like that suffering from that kind of disease. We can't. He's entered the political arena, but just like the other people who enter the political arena who are victims, we're not allowed to hit hard. And
well,
I don't think Rush should have done.
Just concentrated. If he had just concentrated, hold it, Jane. Bernie, if he had just concentrated on, look, here's what Michael J. Fox left out, and not gotten into whether he was an actor or didn't take his medicine, all that, you think he would have gotten away with it?
I think that would have been best for Rush, and the media would have paid no attention to this story. They were never going to analyze whether Michael J. Fox was misleading the American people because he's too sympathetic.
Well, Jane, I'm going to give the last word on it. Go.
I think he is sympathetic. I think it is regrettable. We're not debating the issue. But I think that we've yet to really understand, and Rush has not really said what I've been reading, which is that you get tremors when you are on the medication. That is something that we still need to find out the truth of.
Right. All right, Jane, Bernie, thanks very much. We appreciate it. I think that was pretty fair and balanced, right? Were we fair?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hope so. And, you know, I've talked to Michael J. Fox on the phone, and I want to tell everybody that. And he's a very nice guy, and I know why he can't come into this forum. He wanted to come in. He's not ducking and running. He's not the Dixie Chicks. So I just want everybody to know that Michael J. Fox, I have respect for him.